How you doing? Curtis at RFD. I want to touch on a little subject real quick that I've been asked a handful of times, and there's a little misconception about some of the things we do, and one of those is that the ultimate, the perfect port shape has to be an oval, an absolute oval, and if it's anything other than an oval, it won't run, it won't make power. Well, there's a few things that kind of refute that. First of all, if anybody's looked inside of a blown alcohol or a top fuel Hemi, those ports are about as square as it gets. If you look at all the Pro Mod stuff and Street Outlaws and all of those Hemis, those ports are pretty damn square. So there's a place where this all doesn't quite add up. And I'll explain that. So first of all, you see here, this is one of our most popular cylinder heads. This is our SC2 small block Ford, and this particular one is one of our blower programs. So it's very aggressive cylinder head. It's a 500 CFM intake port, a very aggressive exhaust port, and this thing's has a reputation of being a little bit faster than a lot of other stuff on the market. It runs extremely good. It's been very successful for us. Well, you look at this, it's not exactly an oval port. And it's not exactly a square port either. These corners are not dug out. And, as an example, what I have here is a, this is a spring locator, valve spring locator. And, we're gonna check the radius with this. This is something that you can look at yourself. You can pick out, any engine builder is going to have a spring locator. So look at this spring locator and look at this radius. And if you can look at this radius in the corner of our cylinder head, that's pretty damn close to being the radius that's in the corners. So, these are not old school square port heads like we used to see on Dart cylinder heads or, some big block heads, not just Dart, but, old big block heads, or even some of the older Big Chief square port stuff was, the corners were very dug out, very square. And that really doesn't make real happy airflow for a smooth velocity profile. But the thing is if you have enough corner radius, you can have a very nice, very smooth velocity profile, and you're not disturbing the airflow path. Doesn't have to be round. So that misconception that it's got to be the exact, it's as round as it can be to match the valve. No. So we have a lot of things we have to do when we're trying to get air through a cylinder head. One of the problems we have in a head like this, we have two push rods here. We have head bolts, head studs, and we're trying to get a port in between all of this stuff to get it to the valve. And that's a challenge. It's a challenge to do that and keep good velocity profiles and keep our airspeed where we want it. And that's what this is about. So in this particular head, when I designed this port, I made it pretty square. I had to dig out the corners a little bit, especially through this pushrod area, in order to hit a target airspeed number that I wanted to have. And that's what it's all about, is hitting a target airspeed number while maintaining enough corner radius that I don't create turbulence, or I don't pull the velocity profile apart or anything like that, which is what we've done. So, this particular head, once you get past where the push rods are and into the port, it's extremely oval, as pretty much all of my port designs. Once they're through the restriction, which is usually at the push rod, once I get it through there, I can open the port up, I can get the cross section I'm after, and I can have those big corner radiuses that make it nice and round and smooth. So I can move that airflow into a nice round path that's going to approach the back of the valve and our opening at the valve seat. And that's the key. Velocity profile, we're after particular numbers. So this is about managing those velocity numbers. You know, and of course we want to deliver to the back of the valve and that entire curtain area as evenly as we possibly can and the best we can. You know, so the bowl shape, the short turn, all that, of course, is very critical. But you'll notice a lot of cylinder heads, you know, they might be very round at the roof, you know, over the short turn and going into the bowl, but the floor is very wide, very flat with the corners dug out. So the reason that's there like that is, again, we're managing a velocity profile. So air doesn't like to do anything it doesn't want to do, which means go straight and try and get into the port, you know, or into the cylinder. Air doesn't want to turn, doesn't want to cooperate, doesn't want to do anything. So in order to turn the air and keep a nice velocity profile, and a velocity profile that has good cross-section to it, so that means, you know, not all the high-speed air across the roof, not all the high-speed air across the short turn. We want to even out that velocity profile as much as we can, because we're trying to turn that air and deliver a good profile all the way around the valve seat. As much as we want to use as much of that curtain area when that valve is open as we can. So in order to do that, the air going over the short turn, it's going the shorter distance. It needs to be slower than the airspeed going over the roof. Now, anybody that ports cylinder heads knows that's damn near impossible to do. But that's what we're trying to do. But back onto the subject. Our ports, you know, if it's square, it's not really that square. We've got a good corner radius where we're managing airflow, and the reason we do this is we're managing airspeed. This is Curtis at RFD. I hope that helps. Cheers.